Now, if that music just doesn't get you hyped up, though.
It does. It does, Brett. You know, we've gone through some different selections of music throughout the years, and that's a fun one. That's a fun. Listen, I'm feisty today. It is not.
I can tell.
It's not going to be. It's not going to be good for anybody, even myself included.
Which should make you want to watch and listen.
Oh boy. So I have to, stay collected. This is our 5th episode, and we do want you to share it with a friend if it brings you any value. We're gonna hit you with some truth today, industry truth that a lot of the industry might not like. But share the show.
Yeah. Share it with a friend. Share it on Spotify, or share your Spotify link, or Apple Music, or however that you listen to the podcast, or share the video. And we are going to talk about today a very important issue that has probably been the biggest topic of the year in our industry, and that is changes and things that are happening with the National Weather Service and NOAA. And we're going to talk about not only what the potential implications of these changes are going to be for you, but also dive into the differences that I think that a lot of people don't completely understand, the differences between the National Weather Service and what they provide and what they do compared to a company like BAMWeather, or compared to your local news. And so kind of breaking through, I think that there's a little bit of a misunderstanding in the general public. A lot of people think that, some people think that, all the forecast data and information we just pull and regurgitate to the National Weather Service. Some people think that. Some people think the exact opposite and think the National Weather Service doesn't do anything. They don't provide models. Everybody has their own models, which isn't necessarily the case either. Mm-hmm. And so just educating a little bit on what it all means.
Yeah. No, it's a great topic amongst layoffs and funding cuts and budget cuts and all the things going on within the Weather Service. And listen, I'm going to say a couple things. The first thing is, in my opinion, we've known for a long time that we've needed to really come a lot further along in the world of weather modeling, technology, data. We've been behind the Europeans for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, the European weather model is typically a lot better. You can look at the verifications, and it's consistently better than the American data.
Yeah, and to me that's always been a glaring issue. Is like, Superstorm Sandy, 7 days out, the flagship model for the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, the GFS model, took Sandy out into the ocean, and the European took it into the coastline where it went. That's a major problem, and that's where things really should have been started to be taken a lot more seriously. Mm-hmm. And I think it's embarrassing, quite frankly, that it was that poor. But I think a lot of things in this space is, I think people are afraid to question, why is the funding being cut? Mm-hmm. Why does a particular office have, dozens and dozens of meteorologists at it? Why do we have so many NWS locations for little small county areas all over the country? What we call CWAs or whatever, or WFOs or whatever. I don't know what we call the regions anymore. I forget. But my question is the efficiency and the effectiveness in terms of looking at how businesses are operated. I'm a business owner. I'm a business leader. I am constantly evaluating every day efficiency, effectiveness. Mm-hmm. Are we efficient? Is it effective?
Sure.
So it would be insanity to have 85 people here with what we have. And we service thousands of customers and Fortune 500 companies and industries all across the world. We're a multi-million-dollar company that's servicing people everywhere. And it would be crazy for me to have that many people here. So from a business standpoint, and in the industry, in the community of meteorologists, scientists, what the community is worried about is people are losing their jobs.
Yeah, which sucks.
That sucks. Nobody likes that. I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm not saying that it's great. But listen, jobs and efficiencies and cuts and evaluations are made all the time. That's a thing that's what businesses do. And like it, love it, hate it, despise it, doesn't matter. The current administration of our country runs our country like a business. I'm not asking if you like it or you don't like it. I'm just telling you what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. They don't. And they don't care if it's the NWS or if it's the EPA or the ATF or the FBI it doesn't matter. The DEA, it doesn't matter what agency, they're looking at all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, is this an efficiently ran organization? And does it line up with the financial, outlook, the financial budget? Does it line up with the workload and things that are needed? And that's what's happening. And a lot of people are not going to see eye to eye with that, or they're not even going to agree that what I'm saying is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to give a view inside of a business owner's world. Is unfortunately there has to be a person in every space that has to make calls and decisions that people don't like.
Sure.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, agree or disagree with it. That's what's happening.
That's what's happening.
And obviously, one way or the other, that will have trickle-down effects to where, things that are coming out, things that are being researched. And I think that we're already maybe seeing some of the impacts of that, of where things have been moved around to try to make things more efficient, for better or for worse.
Yep.
Number one, we've seen some of the balloon launches go away.
Sure.
So that's one thing that's happened. Do you think that that's actually, I know there's been some concern on it, so let's address it. Do you think that's actually going to impact weather models?
That's a great question. And I want to pull something up, not even knowing we were talking about this. I'm not told the topics, by the way. But I follow the skill scores of the weather models rather closely, okay? We can argue the balloon launch discontinuation started what? Mid-March?
Yeah, mid-March.
Mid-March. 30-day running skill score of just predicting 500 millibar heights from the European weather model is at an anomaly correlation of 0.930. AKA, the last 30 days, the model has done very well.
It's basically right 93% of the time.
Right 93% of the time at a 5-day forecast looking at 500 millibar heights or the weather pattern at 20,000 feet.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
For those of you that say we're only right half the time.
It's very good. The last 365 days, the average skill of the European model is a 0.934. So 4 1,000ths better over the course of a year versus the last 30 days. The last 7 days, it is a 0.905.
Not as good the last 7 days.
Let me explain why.
Sure.
Upper level low in
Yeah.
the United States cuts skill scores down dramatically. It always has. When an upper level low is stuck in the pattern, the skill scores go into the tank. It has nothing to do with balloons.
And the reason for that, guys, is because these upper level lows, when they get cut off from the jet stream, they're pretty much, they will do whatever they're going to do because no wind is driving it along. So it's going to sit and spin and wobble around until it basically dies or a new jet stream comes in and picks it up.
Yep.
And it's almost impossible to predict what they're going to do.
Yep.
Because there's no steering.
Yep.
There's no wind to steer where it's going to go. So upper level lows, regardless, not going to be forecasted well.
On May 2nd, the European model clocked in at a low dating back to early February with a correlation score of about 0.85. That was a low point for the ECMWF. The GFS, which does this regularly, by the way, happens about every 10 to 14 days, has a tank in skills.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea why. It's always done it. The GFS tanked at an all-time low on the chart back on May 3rd to an anomaly correlation of 0.75.
Yeah, which is not really good.
Not very good. The 1 year running average of that score is a 0.90, and the 30-day is a 0.87, and the last 7 days is a 0.83. I personally believe we chalk that up to the pattern in the upper level low pressure centers getting cut off, because today, just last night, the latest run of the GFS came in with a score of 0.92. It's back up.
Upper level low's gone. Yeah, it's gone back up.
The red line, whoop, it's popping back up. Here's my point to your question about the balloons. Could the balloons impact very, very high-end skill to the model? It could.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not seeing that right now.
Sure.
It's not something, I mean, we stopped that almost 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm the type of guy, I'm not going to go by the prediction or assumption of some random scientist who tells me their thought process on if a balloon impacts weather modeling. I don't care what their opinion is. I'm looking at the facts. What are the skills?
Sure.
Okay. And that's the way that we should look at it. In fact, the WPC, the Weather Prediction Center, they run a sea level pressure forecast verification as well. They run verifications. I've tracked that. It's right here. And you know, I'm looking at this dating back to really late February. I see nothing in the way of indications that our models are declining, and this is day 4 skills. The day 4 skill for the average or the best performing weather model with the upper level low is coming in at an 8.45. But most recently, look how they're all coming back up.
Yeah, they dropped a lot because of the upper level low.
They tanked.
Tanked.
Because of the low, and now all of a sudden they're back up that's over 0.9. Now we're back into the lower 90% correlations of sea level pressure.
So not really a long-term trend right now. Now I would caution, there's another upper level low next week. It'll probably drop again.
Sure, but and the thing is, the narrative, we have to be realistic, and people are going to look at that and they're going to say, well, look at them dropping. Okay, but look at the pattern.
Sure.
Day 3, by the way, day 3 skills, latest runs are hovering around 95%. In fact, the lowest performing really data at day 3 is the evening GFS coming in at an 8.8 or 88% correlation, essentially. So just to put that into perspective, back, Brett, on it looks like April, the beginning of April, the scores actually tanked lower there than they did on this latest section. Well, close.
That's close. I'd be interested to see what happened there. I don't remember if there was another upper level low or,
So anyways, to answer your question about the balloon launch, there's not enough evidence to suggest that canceling a few balloon launches is going to impact our ability to predict weather and keep people safe. Here is one piece to this that is going to be potentially problematic in the short term.
Sure.
Is the ability to issue effective, timely watches and warnings. I believe that if the consolidation is happening, there's going to have to obviously be new systems put in place to be more efficient, more effective, and having less people doing more things. Which may go to a merit-based system or something along the lines of the ability, the skill in particular spots. Could there be a lapse in NWS response times to local government agencies and people needing advice and assistance? 1,000,000%.
I think it's already happening.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
Because the Weather Service is scrambling to have the resources to even talk to these organizations. Right?
Yeah.
We have people right now, EMAs, telling us, hey, we're not getting responses in channels. Well, it's not because they don't want to. It's just because they can't.
Yeah.
There's nobody to respond.
Yeah.
We've had many instances where we've been on live streams, we've been watching things where we've had several storm cells that really needed tornado warnings.
Yeah, which I think is unusual because I think in the past, if anything, it seemed like maybe there were a little too aggressive with warnings, too many warnings. There's a false alarm rate, but I do think that there's been a clear, we've noticed it in our live streams, that needs to have a warning, that needs to have a warning. And a lot of times there ends up being a warning, but it's slower than normal.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And again, there are many great, talented, phenomenal people that work at the National Weather Service. I know a lot of them. They're great people. Nobody deserves to lose their job and just wake up and not have a job. That's not the message we're sending. What we're doing is we're telling you what's happening. It is what's happening. We can't control that it's happening. We're not saying the National Weather Service sucks. We're not saying that even close at all. What we're saying is the National Weather Service is losing resources. They are losing funding. They're losing manpower. So what they're going to be able to provide is going to come down.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's a fantastic point. You know, these extra, quote unquote, extra services responding to EMA and to counties and transportation departments, you name it, or working with local events for forecast support, they're probably just not going to be able to do it.
No, and you know, that's the thing to think about here going forward is where are you going to get that information from, and how is what's the remedy for that? Well, if other weather forecast offices are having to help with alerts, now you've got meteorologists that are focusing on multiple locations, and there will be a transition period there, or there will be an adjustment where things are going to be missed.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not because the meteorologists aren't good,
Sure.
or they're not capable. That's not the conversation. The conversation is the scope of how it's being ran is changing. So in that instance, there will be chaos. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So it is going to be important for people to understand that it's already happening. Here's the thing that I don't think a lot of people understand. Are we okay?
Yeah.
We good?
We're good.
You look on edge.
No,
Are you on edge?
I'm not on edge.
Okay. Hope,
I'm
are you
good.
on edge?
I'm good.
Okay. Here's the thing I don't think people actually really quite understand. Any weather data that you see anywhere, radar, satellite, forecast, you name it, it's all coming from the National Weather Service, the NOAA.
Yeah, nobody really, there's not a radar network. There might be individual radars here and there that, you know, a school might have that they've set up, but all of the entire radar network, what you see on TV 99% of the time, maybe there's that 1% of the time where somebody's pulling in something special, but 99% of the time, it's all NOAA radar network.
It is. I mean, even AccuWeather, Weather Channel, Weather Underground, these other major, large organizations that are ran primarily off of advertising and marketing dollars, their data is supplied by the government. So that data, it's not like AccuWeather, Weather Channel, BAMWX. It's not like we have our own satellites, our own radar, and our own weather modeling. Can we create alterations and deviations from the original product to try and improve it? Yes, that's what people have done for decades. But the core supply of the data comes from the government.
Yeah.
So here's something very interesting I want to talk about real quick. For the last several years, the National Weather Service has been running a project called the NBM, the National Blend of Models.
Yeah.
The National Blend of Models, if you read about it, and if you talk to the original creators, which I have had one-on-one conversations with, was created to replace the NDFD, the National Data for Forecast something database, National Data Forecast Data, I don't know what it is. The NDFD is a forecast system the National Weather Service uses to put out forecasts to the public that the meteorologists have to go in and they can move and change and adjust grids and change the data.
Yeah.
The blend of models is a replacement to that.
Yeah.
The blend of models is continuing to receive an upgrade. It just got an upgrade. That is a completely automated process. The blend of models is going to do what the NDFD did without a human.
Yeah.
That project, I would imagine, the eyes of the current administration are looking at that saying, well, okay, yeah, that makes sense. We're trying to become more efficient and less, that project isn't just because the Weather Service is bored and they're creating a blend of models.
Yeah.
They're doing it for a particular reason.
Sure.
Not to mention the NDFD, it has an element where if you look at the NDFD on the map, there's a lot of inconsistencies with neighboring weather offices.
Yeah, people have, and that's, we get asked a lot, why are all these forecasts so different? Because you all have access to the same, if you're saying we all have access to the same data and the same radars, how do the forecasts end up so different? Well, it's because you get a lot of different variations of data. There's 15 different models that NOAA spits out that are high res just alone.
Yep.
And different forecasters interpret things different ways.
Yep.
And you can get huge differences, especially when you get a big storm system to go through. Timing of the cold front could be one. Which model are you using for a heavy band of snow?
Yeah.
And so if the networks or the forecast areas aren't aligned, aren't communicating, then yeah, you can get major differences.
We've seen in snowstorms here where in Illinois, that particular weather office has picked up on the idea of a band of 6 to 10 inches of snow, and the office in central Indiana hasn't. So it's a 2 to 3 inch forecast. One map is purple and one map is light gray and blue. It's the same storm, but there's different opinions at different offices. Not saying our office is worse or theirs is better. That's not the point. I'm not shaming anybody. I'm saying there's different forecaster opinions in a lot of places that create inconsistencies in the messaging. So the NDFD it's antiquated, it's outdated. So the blend of models replaces that, so there's no inconsistencies.
Sure.
It's the damn same.
Yeah.
Right? And over time that project, the skill of the blend of models is increasing over time. It's getting better and better. In fact, the new 5.0 release coming early spring is going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So my point is that is a move for an efficiency standpoint and an effectiveness standpoint. The NDFD grids don't make any sense. When I look at them, I think they're absolutely senseless. I've never understood them.
It can be very confusing for the end user, and I think that ultimately is what this is all about.
Yep.
And as you mentioned, maybe some disruptions in the warnings and the watches, at least for a time. I think maybe when the dust settles, maybe the renewed focus is on that for the National Weather Service and the consulting side of things with these EMA companies or these EMA and some companies and organizations and events and stuff more in our sector, in the private sector, and then obviously the communication on networks will be more of the broadcast sector.
Yep.
And so more defined roles, perhaps, if you will.
Yeah, and listen, people know this. People know this is not a mystery. Government in the U.S. moves at a snail's pace. It doesn't matter what branch of government it is. It moves very, very slow. So there could be a long period of time before the new way. Not saying it's the right way. Again, it's not my decision.
It's just what's happening.
Yeah,
it's just what's happening.
I don't get to make the call. I'm not the guy back here making the calls. I'm saying that whatever it does do, the adjustments are going to take time. There's going to be a lag effect here.
Sure.
There are 122 NWS forecast offices across the U.S. 122 of them. That means that in a given output of a forecast for a big storm in the central U.S., the northeast, the southeast, wherever big storms come, that means you could have, at any given time, 20 different opinions from 20 different offices that require 20 different conference calls and 10 different changes and 85 different meteorologists, and it's pandemonium, it's chaos. And so the odds are, again, I'm guessing, the odds are at the top, the administration is saying, gosh, man, I don't know. I don't know if that's the best way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, people are getting, they're suffering from that.
Sure.
And that is not what we want or what we like to see. But we do need to talk about the truth behind the moves. The truth is, the weather balloon, the lack of them, hasn't really impacted forecast model skill. I haven't seen a trend line down in skill over a long period of time.
Sure.
If I start to see that by June, then okay, we'll come back and say, hey, we were wrong. Whatever. They're like anything. Businesses are evaluated, and and a lot of times, most of the time, majority of people don't agree.
Mm-hmm.
You look at any big moves that have ever happened in the history of big successful organizations. Apple, let's just use Apple for example. Okay, Steve Jobs was literally fired from his own damn company.
Yeah.
They fired him, and they were like, well, that was stupid. Oops, better bring him back. Right? I mean, Southwest Airlines, there's so many fascinating stories about incredibly risky, unpopular moves by leaders. It's like, what the hell is this person doing? Because they're going to crash and burn it. And they come out looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying this will happen with the National Weather Service. It may be like, oh shoot, we messed up. We better bring them all back.
Yeah.
We've screwed it. Or it may, in 5 years, it may be like, well, that was the move we needed to make. Nobody knows, but that's why it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
As much as everyone hates Doge, a lot of people love it. And what does Doge mean, by the way? Well, it's the Department of Government Efficiency. That's what we're doing. Okay, so like, love, hate, despise, it's an efficiency audit.
Sure.
And that's what's happening at the National Weather Service.
Sure. Let me ask this. In terms of, let me go back to the warnings and maybe more the event coordination for a second.
Yeah.
What, for people that are watching or listening that are making decisions for local government, making decisions for events, that are concerned about losing coverage that they've been used to for probably decades.
Sure.
What is this solution?
Well, listen, I'm a straight shooter. And the last thing I would want to do on this particular podcast is a sales pitch. It's not really what I want to do.
Sure.
There are organizations, let's just put it that way, that offer a fill-in, a service that when you're losing that support from the NWS, you'll gain it from us, let's say. We are making moves internally right now to be equipped to, we issue our own warnings and watches privately through our platform. Our customers, if we don't agree with or need to insert, BAM issues warnings, private warnings to the private sector, to private clients.
And I think maybe that's the key there is private sector to private sector, business to business, government to public. The government serves the public, right? Yeah. And then
we serve the private sector.
We serve the private sector, and there's it's not just us, as you mentioned, and I think that's where you probably are going to have to look, at least until the very least until the dust settles, but it could be long term.
It would be at this point irresponsible for anyone to assume or bank on continued continuity of support from the NWS in the same manner it's been.
Mm-hmm.
It would be irresponsible and ignorant for you to believe that will continue.
Yeah, and there's probably some options that'll come up that'll completely automate everything. But when you're making decisions for the safety of people, and the management of the safety of roads and warning systems and whatnot, it really is beneficial to talk to a person.
It is. Yeah, you've got to humanize it. The big thing here is keeping that human element in touch and people being able to talk to people. But yeah, that's what's going on, and in my opinion, is our data streams that we get at risk? I honestly, professionally do not believe weather model data, radar data, satellite data is at risk because the efficiency part of it requires that stuff to continue, hence the blend of models project.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just going to start shutting off things, I don't believe. Now,
Sure.
again, that could be wrong. I'm not on the Doge team. I'm not in the administration.
And we've seen things go and come back too.
Yeah.
I think it was MRCC. Some of the regional climate center data had gone down.
Yep.
And then it came back.
And it came back.
Because people said they needed it.
Yeah.
And so I do think that there seems to be some, it's not a complete disconnect.
Yeah.
There's, if you talk loud enough, some things seem to be answered and listened to.
Yep.
Because that is something that from a 10-foot, you know, from an outsider's point of view, MRCC data center, why is that important?
Yep.
It's old data, it's already happened. For me, you know, I see that as I'm doing a long-range forecast like we did last week and say, oh, it's great to be able to look week by week and see what happened in a previous year. That's a good match this year.
Yep.
And so, you know, I think it's things like that there may be some fluctuations before the dust settles.
Yep, for sure. And that's that on that. You know, it's I believe this is a approach as this is being ran as a business. And that's what this administration does. If the country decides they don't like that, they'll vote someone else in the next term. But for now, you're stuck with it. You're stuck with an administration that runs the country like a business, that it doesn't focus on feelings or emotions. And there is a large group of people that do care about feelings and emotions, as there should be. But this administration doesn't. And they make decisions based on the efficiency of an organization. That's it. So that's where we're at with that. I'm curious, is there anyone, comments, questions? Anybody saying anything?
There's a few ones just, but you kind of addressed all of them about how like they have delays and warnings and how they watch our live streams to get that information in a timely manner. So that's good. And then there was one about just how the NBM model would it take away from the human element in it down the road.
Yeah, I think that it can if the right process is not put in place. The question was, can the blend of models take away from the human element? It can, if the management or the leadership of the Weather Service and whoever is involved in these decisions doesn't adjust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we keep heavy involvement in the human side of the data analysis. We don't
Sure.
just put the data out and go, well, I hope it's right.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't
For
work
sure.
that way. So, yeah, if you guys have questions about what we're talking about, ask us. If you're listening on the podcast, you can email us, you can DM us, mention us on social media.
Do a trial, scan the QR code.
Yeah, try out Clarity but you know, in terms of if you're looking to fill a gap or a void or have a concern, our service does do that. We're a private sector company that we don't have those issues. We're not governed by the government. We don't have funding or you know, things like that.
They can't tell us what to do, right?
No, they can't. Now they can take things from us.
Sure. Which again, radar, very important.
Yeah.
Satellite, very important.
Yep.
You know, those types of things, weather models, very, very important.
Yep.
Those three things especially are things that everyone uses that cannot be taken away.
Correct.
Like, that would be bad. Like, news uses it, we use it, government uses it. And so there's a difference between the data stream and the importance of that and some of the changes going on in the forecast. And that's not to say that the forecast information is not important either, but
Yep.
you know, as you mentioned, looking at just making it more efficient, that's what's happening.
That's exactly it. I'm just pulling up YouTube, looking at the comments. Yeah, I mean, guys, if you have questions, feel free, like I said, to ask. But I mean, that's my take on it. I don't know that I have much more to add to it. Again, if you look at this community in general of professionals, scientists, meteorologists, people in the community they're pissed about this. And people are pissed off. This is not what the people in this community want. And listen, just to challenge you from a perspective standpoint, any community would be pissed off if this was happening to them. if they went in and cut jobs at any agency, it's going to piss everybody off. Rightfully so.
Sure.
I would be too, right? I do feel for those people. However, again, it's not my decision, so what I say doesn't really matter, but I'm just trying to offer the aspect of why it's happening. And while the community is upset, hurt, out of a job, struggling, those are all accurate things. It doesn't take away from the fact that the process is going to be impacted. The people that are relying on the Weather Service need to be careful to keep relying on it in the capacity that they were.
Sure.
That's all it means.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, before we go,
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out. We talked about the QR code. If you're listening, if you're watching, one thing that we do with the community is we try to give back, right? And so our 5K is a week and a half away.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to give that a little plug.
Yeah.
In Franklin, Indiana, or you can run virtually if you're not in the area.
Yeah.
Hope, could you throw in the comments or in the description the link to that? And I think we're running right now between 9 and 8 today. If you sign up, you could be in to win the BAM Lightning Basket, which includes a subscription, and it includes a blanket and a tumbler.
Nice.
So if you're watching and you're listening, you can have a chance to do that today, May 7th only, if you register for the 5K.
This has been a really good podcast. Honestly, I was somewhat nervous about the topic. But, listen, the truth's the truth. And where there is no truth, there is no growth. And someone's got to talk about this stuff. Someone's got to mention that what it is. And
we can't change it.
We can't change it. And again, I can't say that I'm for or against it. It doesn't matter what I am. What I am is I'm an efficiency guy, and no matter where I'm at, if I'm working at Walmart or Shell gas station or BAM Weather or the National Weather Service, I'm going to look at efficiency. And if it ain't efficient, I'm going to change it.
Yeah.
That's just what I do.
And that's what's happening.
Yep.
And those are the impacts that we're seeing right now.
Yep.
And be prepared for it.
Yep.
Understand that, not everything is going away, not the radar, not the data necessarily, but it's going to be more difficult to get in contact with somebody directly because they're doing other things to fill gaps.
I will say this, if you are a motivated, open to challenging, growth-driven, passionate meteorologist, and you have a personality, and you would like to work at a company that is rapidly growing and it is hiring meteorologists, you can inquire with us. If you're one of the unfortunate Weather Service meteorologists that may have lost their job, we are looking for positions. Obviously, we can't hire all of you, but we certainly have a couple of spots that you may be eligible to fill and come back into the field. So I put that out there. I don't know who would they email?
John? I don't know.
Poor
Vince?
John. We just give him out. I mean, we just kind of sell him on every stream, Just go to BAMWX.com and find the contact.
Yeah,
Contact
there's a meet the staff, there's a join our team. Go to the join our team page, and you can find what you're looking for. There's a contact BAM button too, so you can contact us.
Share this with a friend. This needs to be shared. It needs to be talked about. Talk about it. Send the link to the show to somebody, folks to listen to it. And if you have questions, again, feel free to reach out to us at any time.
All right, that's all that we have. Until next time.